In 1610, soldiers stormed one of Europe's most magnificent castles. What they found in the dungeon would horrify even the most hardened warriors. Bodies, torture devices, and evidence of crimes so disturbing that the case was sealed for centuries. This is the story of Elizabeth Báthory, the Blood Countess. Before we dive into this dark tale, remember to subscribe to Dark Ages Chronicles for more medieval mysteries that will keep you awake at night. Hit that notification bell because trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Elizabeth Báthory was born in 1560 into one of Hungary's most powerful noble families. Her relatives included kings, cardinals, and military heroes. She received an excellent education, spoke 4 languages, and married Ferenc Nadasdy, a renowned warrior known as the Black Knight of Hungary. By all accounts, she should have lived a life of privilege and honor. But something went terribly wrong. The Báthory family castle at Čachtice was a fortress of immense wealth and power. When Elizabeth married Ferenc in 1575, she became one of the most influential women in Hungary. Her husband spent most of his time at war against the Ottoman Empire, leaving Elizabeth to manage their vast estates. It was during these long periods of solitude that dark rumors began to emerge from the castle. Servants whispered about the Countess's strange obsessions and cruel punishments, but these were dismissed as gossip. After all, who would believe such stories about a noblewoman of her standing? The truth, however, was far more sinister than anyone could imagine. After Ferenc's death in 1604, Elizabeth's behavior became increasingly erratic. Historical records suggest she became obsessed with maintaining her youth and beauty. According to testimonies later given during her trial, she believed that bathing in the blood of young women would preserve her appearance. But this wasn't just vanity. It was a deadly obsession that would claim hundreds of lives. Elizabeth began luring young women to her castle under the pretense of offering them work as servants. These women, mostly from poor peasant families, saw this as an opportunity for a better life. They had no idea they were walking into a nightmare. What happened to these women within the castle walls shocked even the hardened investigators of the time. Court documents from her trial reveal horrifying details about Elizabeth's methods. She would subject her victims to elaborate torture rituals, always with the same goal: to collect their blood for her twisted beauty treatments. The castle's dungeon was transformed into a chamber of horrors. Iron cages hung from the ceiling, designed to slowly torture victims. Devices were constructed specifically for her cruel purposes. The Countess would often participate directly in these acts, showing no mercy to her victims' pleas. But Elizabeth made a fatal mistake that would eventually lead to her downfall. Initially, she targeted only peasant girls, people whose disappearances wouldn't be investigated. However, as her obsession grew stronger, she became careless. In the early 1600s, she began targeting daughters of lesser nobility. These were women whose families had connections, resources, and most importantly, the power to demand answers when their daughters vanished. By 1609, rumors about the Blood Countess could no longer be ignored. King Matthias II of Hungary ordered an investigation led by György Thurzó, one of Elizabeth's own relatives. What Thurzó's investigators discovered exceeded their worst expectations. When they searched Čachtice Castle, they found evidence of systematic murder on an unprecedented scale. Bodies in various stages of decomposition were discovered throughout the castle. Torture devices bore clear signs of recent use. The most damning evidence came from Elizabeth's own servants, who testified about the horrors they had witnessed. Under questioning, they revealed details so disturbing that much of the testimony was sealed from public view. According to these testimonies, Elizabeth had killed over 650 young women during her reign of terror. The exact number remains disputed, but even conservative estimates place the victim count well over 100. Elizabeth's trial began in 1611, but she herself never appeared in court. Her noble status protected her from public execution, but not from punishment. Her accomplices, servants who had participated in or witnessed her crimes, were not so fortunate. They faced the full brutality of medieval justice. Some were burned at the stake. Others had their fingers torn off before execution. Elizabeth herself received a different kind of death sentence. She was walled up alive in her own castle, with only small openings for food and air. This wasn't mercy. It was a slow psychological torture designed to match her crimes. For 3.5 years, Elizabeth lived in these sealed chambers, slowly going insane from isolation. Guards reported hearing her talking to invisible companions and laughing at nothing. In 1614, Elizabeth Báthory was found dead in her sealed chambers. Her body showed no signs of violence. She had simply wasted away, driven mad by her confinement. But her story didn't end with her death. The case was so shocking that it was classified by Hungarian authorities. Documents were sealed, testimonies were hidden, and for centuries the full extent of her crimes remained a closely guarded secret. Modern historians debate whether Elizabeth was truly guilty of all the crimes attributed to her, or if she became a scapegoat for political enemies. Some argue that the charges were exaggerated to justify seizing her vast wealth and lands. However, the sheer volume of testimony from multiple sources, combined with physical evidence found at the castle, suggests that Elizabeth Báthory did indeed commit horrific crimes that shocked even medieval Europe. The story of Elizabeth Báthory serves as a chilling reminder that evil can hide behind any facade, even that of an educated, powerful noblewoman. Her case remains one of history's most disturbing examples of how absolute power can corrupt absolutely. The Blood Countess became a legend that inspired countless stories about vampires and blood rituals. But the real horror isn't in the supernatural elements. It's in the very human capacity for cruelty when left unchecked. What do you think? Was Elizabeth Báthory a victim of political conspiracy, or was she truly one of history's most prolific serial killers? Let me know in the comments below. If this dark tale from medieval history fascinated you, make sure to subscribe to Dark Ages Chronicles. We have many more shocking stories from the medieval world that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Next week, we'll explore another medieval monster, Gilles de Rais, the nobleman who fought alongside Joan of Arc by day and committed unspeakable crimes by night. Until then, remember, the past was far darker than we often imagine.